Hello, I'm Darcy from Blackjack Brewery. Welcome to the Smithfield Sessions video tasting notes. Before we start, I'd like to say a personal thank you. Thank you for buying the pack. You're supporting our venue here, the Smithfield, supporting us as a brewery, and you're also tonight helping the events industry with the rental, tonight's DJs. So thank you. We're going to be tasting 7 beers, all of the Blackjack ones. For the notes on Runaway and the Pictish, refer back to the website, they're on there. Let's get going. Okay, we're going to start with the Hells. We're going to start with the Hells for a reason. It's a beer that's really found its own in the last 12 months. It's a lager style, so what does it need? It needs time, it needs cold conditioning. So when we had a lager in our tanks at the start of March 2020, and we went into lockdown, we left it there, and it got that time. It got exactly what it needed, which is time to mature and crispen up into a really beautiful lager. It's one of the things of 2020 that we are so proud of. It's German in origin for us, but we love all the lager styles. We love German and Czech lagers, even American lights for some of us. And this really ticks all the boxes. It's got enough interest, but it's also light and crispy. Okay, so this beer is a Hells. So it has to be a lager plus. That's the way I think of it anyway. We need a bit more interest than we would from standard lager. So we've got lager malt, unsurprisingly, gives us the clean profile from the malt, but we add a tiny bit of caramel, which is giving the colour and those little notes you're getting on the nose from the malt. Hops, traditional classic SARS hops. Tiny bit of spice on the nose, but a good assertive bitterness. Not enough to make this an IPL, but certainly enough to notice it, which is what we want. We want this to be easy drinking, but also enjoyable and drinkable. As I said before, this beer is fermented cold. We use a traditional lager yeast. We ferment for 2 weeks cold, and then a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks cold conditioning. What this does is it allows the traditional lager yeast to mop up all those other flavours you'd expect from beers of different styles. It lets it become crispy and cleaner and more focused is probably a better way to describe it. So you do and can pick out those notes that we've added in here. The subtle amounts of extra hops from the SARS and the subtle extra addition of the caramel. You can still pick out the spicy bready notes from the yeast as well. It really is something we're really proud of, so we hope you enjoy it. All right, let's move on. We're going to move on to our best selling beer. We're going to move on to Session IPA. Now, Session IPA is a beer that's always changing. We're always changing the hops in this. We're changing hop combinations, up to 5 different hops, down to single hop addition types. But always the malt staying the same, and that's because this is a West Coast Session IPA, so it should have a bit of balance and a bit of backbone, but we're always searching out that hoppy zing on the nose. With that in mind, the hop's always changing. This particular one, we've used something new to us. We've used cryo hops. Now, cryo hops are pelletized hops, similar to normal hop pellets, but at the point of picking, they're actually capturing even more of the essential oils, the bit of the hop that makes it hoppy, that gives it the aroma. More of that is captured at the very, very beginning. What this means is that we can use either less mass of hops, or we can use even more hops in a brew without bringing on a sort of vegetable flavour to the beer, because we're not putting in the massive leaves that we'd have to. So you can either have a really, really clean hop sing out of a beer, or you can massively overhop a beer and have a really big hop bomb. That's what cryo hops are for. In this particular brew, we've used the craft favourite, we've used Citra. So Citra cryo hop is something that will turn brewers' heads. So what you're going to get out of this is a nice, clean, zing, citrusy flavour and aroma. But as I said, it's a West Coast Session IPA, so we are going to get a balance. We're getting that malt interest with a bit of a hop nose and zing. This beer, we've brewed it twice now, we're so happy. I mean, that's unusual for this beer. This beer is one of the favourites. It's the beer that you'll find in our brewers' fridges because it's an easy sessionable pale ale, which is what everyone really wants. We really hope you enjoy this beer because we've really enjoyed brewing it and creating it, and we'll see what the next batch is going to be like. Okay, let's move on. Okay, we're going to move over to the dark side now with Manchester Stout. Now this beer has been with Blackjack since 2012. We've been brewing basically the same recipe since then. It's a dry stout, so that means that it's all about the complex flavours. We're looking at 8 different malts in this, so we're going to have all of those traditional flavours you'd assume. We're going to have coffee, molasses, and a nice bit of bitterness from the hops that are in there. This beer really is about the malt. The aromas you're getting are not necessarily from the hops, but from those complex malt profiles. Now, in the last 12 months, we've changed this recipe, and the one thing we changed is the ABV. We left everything else the same. We dropped the ABV from 5 to 4.5%. This means that this dry stout is a tiny bit sweeter. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still a dry stout. You're still going to get all those roasted flavours, but it just makes it a little bit easier to drink. It makes it a more sessionable dry stout. And with the last 12 months and things going into bottle, it's certainly helped this beer. We hope you really enjoy this one because it's nice to throw in dark beers, and we're all about having the range of Blackjack. So enjoy your dry stout. So now we're on to our seasonal range and the final 4 beers. Now these beers were part of a range that we let our brewers go wild on. We said IPA, make us 4 IPAs, different as you can, and see what you can find, what we can learn about the process. And we've come up with 4 very different beers. We've got an East Coast, a West Coast, an Orange White IPA, and also a Red IPA. Right, let's start with the East Coast. This must be the place. Our East Coast IPA at 6% is brewed to be an East Coast IPA. So that is low bitterness, but juicy hop aromas, juicy flavours. Now we've achieved this with Eldorado hops and loads of them. A tiny bit of Magnum in the boil, only enough to keep the foam down, leads to very low bitterness. Now this very low bitterness is then complemented with Azacca and First Gold dry hopping, and a lot of it. We're not going for absolute tropical tangoed here, we're talking about actual hop aromas and flavours. This beer has been a big success, and it's been the biggest selling one so far from this particular range. We're very happy with it. We're also very happy with the clarity on this beer. In the last few years, the hazy IPA market's really taken over. This has got a slight bit of haze, and that's down to the level of hops inside it. It's not a process we've added to add haze to look good. This is a genuine East Coast IPA. Okay, let's go over to the West Coast of America now. This is going to be our West Coast IPA, Unconditional Love, another 6% beer. We're going to do the opposite of the East Coast with this beer. We want the malt base, we want the bitterness. It's a golden coloured IPA with a full of flavour. This is hopped with Chinook and Summit in the bittering. This is going to give a nice round, piney American flavour to this beer, balanced by the levels of malt in the background. We do finish it off with some lovely American Cascade, the classic craft hop. This is going to add a little bit of aroma for you to balance with those malts, and it's going to be overall a bit of a taste sensation. You are getting bitterness, you're getting hoppiness, you're getting piney aromas, but through a golden malt base. It's another short sessionable, really tasty beer. Okay, we've done the classic styles, modern classic styles at least, of East and West Coast. Let's go off the path a little bit with a red IPA. So this is seasons come, seasons go. It's a red IPA. What does that mean? It's an IPA, but it's red. It does get that basic sometimes in brewing. We've brewed this with Red X malt from Germany, a diastatic malt, a fairly modern one actually, that's really good at adding a red hue to beers. You could even use it 100% to make a really beetroot blood red beer. We didn't do that. We've just got a little bit in there for the colour. Hop-wise, this is New Zealand all the way through. This is the Southern Hemisphere beast. It's hopped with Motueka, Nelson Sauvin, Pacific Jade and Waiheke, all from New Zealand. It's full of those juicy flavours, the hoppiness. What's brought through the third wave of craft brewers is all these hops, and that's what's in here. Aroma and flavour, hoppy, little bit of bitterness, lovely red colour. And I really hope you enjoy this one, because this one's my favourite. Okay, one left. We've done the East Coast of America, we've done the West Coast of America, and we've been down in the Southern Hemisphere to New Zealand. So what's left? It's the Northern Hemisphere. This beer, Rust Never Sleeps, is a white orange IPA. And you go, whoa, what's that? Well, again, off the beaten path slightly here. This is a 50% wheat malt bill. So we're approaching wheat beer territory, but we've brewed this with US-05 standard ale yeast for a clean aroma. So you're not going to get any of the banana profile you'd expect from a wheat beer, but you're going to get all of that lovely mouthfeel that you get from a wheat beer. To zing it up and stay in the Northern Hemisphere, we're using noble hops from Europe. This one is Mandarina Bavaria, which is well known for its citrusy clementine flavours. We've zested this up quite literally with orange zest. Loads of it in the boil and kettle, loads of it in the fermenter. So to complement the Mandarina Bavaria, we've actually got orange in here. Orange, orange, orange. That's why it's an orange white IPA. So we do have a fairly low bitterness, but you're going to get the pithy nature of the actual orange additions, but you should be able to pick out that lovely, lovely hop aroma from these delicate, noble Northern Hemisphere hops. Okay everybody, thank you so much again for buying the packs, for joining me in supporting everyone in the industry. We can't wait to welcome you into our brewery. We can't wait to welcome you into our bars. We hope to see you over the next couple of years. Stay well, be safe, and we'll see you on the live stream.